these people out here romanticizing summer gardening because to me it proves they've never done it. And I don't know if that's going to change. Summer gardening always gets all the hype. And I know it has something to do with the fact that they're colorful and flashy and full of tomatoes and peppers that rack up likes on Instagram. Now look, I'm just a non-credentialed backyard gardener, but can I be honest for a minute? Summer gardening ain't for the faint. Because you gotta get up before sunrise so you can beat the heat and water your garden. You're staking and pruning like it's a CrossFit workout. Late July and August are the worst for pests. And heaven forbid you skip one day, you'll come back to zucchini the size of toddlers. Now don't get me wrong, I love summer produce, but if we're talking about the season that gives you the most amount of food with the least amount of stress, oh, that's fall. And here's why. Fall crops actually like the weather. You know, things like kale, carrots, cabbage, collards, they actually taste better after a frost. And instead of bolting or burning out, they lean into the chill. And unlike spring, you're not gambling with, are we gonna get a late frost? Or will summer arrive early and just torch everything? But you won't have any of those problems with fall, because it's steady, predictable, and dare I say, way less drama. Just wait, there's more. We haven't even gotten to the good part. We also need to talk ease, because fall gardening is actually beginner-proof. And that's because fall crops are just built differently. They're tough. They don't need fancy trellises or endless watering schedules or micromanagement. You plant them, you give them good soil, and then they do their thing. This is the only time of year that your garden is essentially on autopilot. So for me, my fall garden is basically an outdoor refrigerator. And my crops just sit there, crisp and fresh, waiting for me to harvest. Your summer crops don't do that. You've got to harvest them before they spoil on you. But during the fall, I can just walk outside, harvest some greens to make a salad for dinner that night, and then harvest the rest tomorrow, later on in the week, or even weeks later when I need it. And if you're growing in a vertical planter, this is kind of where it gets wild. So, in my townhouse deck garden, I can grow over 30 cabbages in one GreenStalk vertical planter. Yes, I said 30, as in 30. And that's the kind of yield most people don't get, even if they have a quarter of an acre lot. So, whether you've got land or just a deck like me, you can absolutely grow a ridiculous amount of food. Wait, it's your first time visiting my garden? Let me give you a tour. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what seeds I'm planting. And I also want to talk about why I chose these specific frost-hardy varieties. Because this is it, y'all. What I'm planting now is going to carry me clear through the holidays. So I need you to buckle in, Buttercup, because while summer gardens may get all the glory, fall gardens are where smart gardeners cash in. Okay, so before we get into the seeds, I have to tell you this because honestly, this is one of the best deals GreenStalk has ever given us. From September 4th through the 9th, you can grab their fall bundle for 40% off. Just use the code Cassandra at checkout or scan the QR code on your screen. And let me tell you, this is everything you need to set yourself up for the easiest fall garden ever. And here's the thing, when you start now, you're not just prepping for fall, you're also setting yourself up to beat the spring rush too. But don't wait, because there are only 100 seed bundles, and once they're gone, they're gone. So if you're looking for a list of seeds that's especially smart for small spaces, whether you're growing in a vertical planter, tight raised beds, or containers, this is it. But this is also not a giant seed haul where I've ordered everything under the sun. And actually, I haven't done one of these in 2 years because this lineup just works. So truly, this is all that I am getting for probably another 2 years. And so what you're about to see is an affordable list that is going to get you from late summer planting to early to mid fall crops into early winter. And a good 70% of this list are frost hardy crops, meaning they just don't survive the cold. They thrive in it. And oh, that actually reminds me that I've even included a few cover crops so that by the time that spring sneaks its way back in, you're not looking at depleted soil. Yeah, there they are. So instead, you're going to have rich, revitalized soil that's ready to go. And the whole point here is to work smarter, not harder, because I work full time, not YouTube. And so gardening has to fit my actual real life. And so for me, that means that I need crops that are reliable, compact, and give multiple harvests without demanding constant attention. And so this list does exactly that. So as I walk you through each seed, here's what you can expect. I'll talk about what to plant, how frost impacts the flavor, how long you're harvesting, and because you know I can't resist, I'll even share how to cook with it. Now, a lot of this list is cut and come again, and others are roots that sweeten after a frost. And then all of them I have grown in my vertical planter with the exception of a new cover crop that I'm trying this year, so I know that they're going to work in my vertical planters. So whether you're new to fall gardening or you've already got a few favorites, consider this video like comparing gardening notes, because you're about to walk away with a short, powerful list that will keep you harvesting even through the colder months, and maybe help you rethink how you garden year-round. So the way I'm going to introduce this seed lineup to you is through 4 distinct categories. And the first category is our quick wins. So these are things that you're going to plant right now and they'll be ready to harvest within the next 30 to 45 days. That's right. You're going to plant this list in late August through September and you're going to be eating fresh greens within a month. Then we're going to move on to category 2, which I'm calling the steady eddies. And this group of friends takes about 60 to 75 days. And you're going to want to plant these crops early to mid-September. Now, they're not going to be ready within a month, but the cooler temperatures is going to help them bulk up nicely. So you'll be harvesting your steady eddies by late October, early November. So category 3 are your holiday heroes because that's when they're going to start to show up on the scene. You need about 90 to 120 days for these. Yeah, they're going to take patience, but they're also going to be the stars at your November and December meal, like Brussels for Thanksgiving or cabbage for hearty soups or coleslaws. And I've even got some petite onions that store through the winter in your planter or in your house. I mean, truly, your holiday heroes are going to get you into late January, if not early February. And then by March, we're already seed starting for spring. So sorry, baby doll, no days off for you. Now, category 4 is what I call plant power-ups. And these are our cover crops because you should be planting not only for food, but also planting for your soil. So we're going to plant these cover crops anytime throughout the month of September through October. And they're going to work to replenish and restore your soil for your spring planting. I'm telling y'all, it is significantly easier and cheaper to plant cover crops than to wait until spring for a big surprise and pay the outrageous prices at these big box stores for amendments. Okay, so let's get to the quick wins category. One of the speediest, easiest greens you can grow in the fall is arugula. And now if you've only ever had arugula from a plastic bag at a grocery store, you haven't really had arugula because garden fresh is never going to be grocery store fresh. And so I have always found store-bought arugula to be a little bitter, a little limp, but fall-grown arugula is peppery, it's fresh, and it's packed with flavor. Now, this is a crop that grows fast. You can be harvesting baby arugula leaves just 30 days after planting. So this means if you get it in the soil in September, you'll be eating it in October, no question. And because it's cut and come again, you just snip the leaves and the plant keeps regrowing. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. And nutritionally, arugula is a powerhouse in disguise. It is very high in vitamin K, folate, and antioxidants. But I think what makes it extra special is that it's part of the brassica family. Yep, it's in the same family as broccoli and cabbage. So you're getting those cancer-fighting compounds that you don't always find in the other lettuces. Here's why I recommend it for vertical planters. So arugula doesn't need much space. The roots are shallow, and because it grows so quickly, you can tuck it into any open pocket in your GreenStalk. Even if you're squeezing in one last crop before the frost, I'm going to say that arugula will deliver. And when that frost does come, it will be able to handle it. A little chill actually helps mellow out that sharpness of the flavor and just rounds it out and makes it smoother, I'd say. And now timing wise, you can succession sow arugula every 2 to 3 weeks from late summer into late fall. That way you'll have a steady harvest of tender leaves right up until the deep freeze hits. So let's go ahead and talk kitchen use because arugula is bold. And it's got something to do with that peppery bite that makes even a boring Tuesday meal just taste fancy. And this is the kind of green that you want to sprinkle over your salads, tuck it into your sandwiches, sprinkle it over soups or over top of pizza. But my personal favorite is mixing it with roasted butternut squash in the fall. Oh my goodness. It's just that combination of sweet and spicy. So good. So if you want something that's quick, reliable, packed with nutrients and flavor, go with arugula. Okay, so now let's talk about a green that doesn't need much of an introduction, but definitely deserves a spot in every garden. Bloomsdale spinach. This is one of those crops that just thrives in the fall because it especially enjoys the chill. What you're going to love about Bloomsdale is that it germinates quickly, typically within 7 to 10 days, and it's going to give you perpetual harvest. And that's the thing, spinach is actually tougher than it looks, so with a frost cover over top, you can still have your spinach into January. If you've ever been told to eat your greens, spinach is probably the green that they have in mind. But what I love about Bloomsdale specifically is that it has these dark, crinkly, almost Savoy style leaves that hold up better during cooking. So this means that you're not just limited to throwing it in a salad. You can toss it into pasta, blend it into smoothies, stir it into soups, or saute it with garlic and butter. And it doesn't just, melt away or dissolve into nothing. And here's why fall spinach really shines for me. It is one of the most compact greens that you can grow in a vertical planter. It doesn't need deep roots. It doesn't sprawl, and you can succession sow, meaning you can plant a little now, a little more in a couple of weeks, and then you've got a steady cut and come again harvest that's going to last you throughout the season. Just one pocket in your GreenStalk can give you bowl after bowl of greens. Now, taste-wise, if you've only had grocery store spinach, and that was me for some time, you're going to be in for a surprise because store spinach is usually harvested young, then it's bagged and shipped cross country. But when you harvest it fresh from your garden, the flavor is earthy and nutty and even sweet, especially after a frost. I know. I would have never associated the word sweet with spinach, but you got to get it fresh. And it's a totally different experience to toss that into your omelet in the morning or your Thanksgiving stuffing in November, knowing that it came straight from your backyard. Now, space spinach is another one of your quick wins to plant this fall. Now, with this variety, you're going to have baby leaves around 30 days and then fully mature ones around 40. Plus, the space variety can handle a frost, meaning that you're still going to have spinach long after the other greens have given up. One of the varieties that I like to grow is called Space, and it really lives up to that name. It's a modern variety bred to be compact, uniform, and reliable. So that means that it tucks neatly into a vertical planter pocket without sprawling or taking up space, which really makes it ideal if you're working with a small deck garden like I am. Nutritionally, spinach is one of the heaviest hitters in the leafy green family. It is loaded with iron, folate, magnesium, and vitamin K, plus a really good dose of vitamin C. It's the kind of green that actually delivers noticeable energy because of its high iron and mineral content. Now, in the kitchen, spinach is about as versatile as it gets. You can eat it fresh in salad, saute it with garlic and olive oil, blend it into a smoothie, fold it into omelets, pasta, soups, all that. And because space spinach is thicker and it has these like thick crinkled leaves more so compared to like the flimsy bag stuff at the grocery store, it holds up better in cooking. So you're not left with a sad little pile of wilted spinach greens. You're actually growing something that has substance. Now, here's another reason that I love growing it in the fall. Spinach actually acts like its own storage system. So instead of harvesting a giant pile all at once, you want to leave it in your planter and just snip what you need. It's like having an outdoor refrigerator stocked with fresh greens until winter really sets in. Now, this next one is such a sleeper hit in the fall garden. I'm talking about Japanese baby turnips. This variety is known as Mache. So what you might be thinking, turnips, and maybe you're picturing those big, woody, spicy roots from the grocery store that nobody gets excited about. But let me stop you right there because baby turnips are completely different. These are tender, they're sweet, they're delicate, and they're roots that you can harvest at the size of a radish. Plus the flavor, I would describe it as like buttery, crisp, almost fruity. They do not have that harsh bite that people associate with like the old school turnips. And nutritionally, they bring a lot to the table. Turnips are high in vitamin C, fiber, potassium, and antioxidants. And here's the bonus. The green tops, they're edible too. And they're loaded with calcium and vitamin K. So with one plant, you're actually getting two crops, a root and a leafy green. Now, flavor-wise, Mache baby turnips are so versatile. You can eat them raw, just slice them thin into a salad, or even snack on them like an apple because they're refreshing and crunchy. You can also roast them in the oven with just a little bit of olive oil and salt, and they caramelize into something so sweet and tender, kind of like you're eating the pearl onions. Also, do not forget those greens. I love tossing them into soups or sauteing them with garlic. I mean, nothing is going to go to waste. Now, from a gardening standpoint, oh my goodness, these are quick wins. You can harvest baby turnips in as little as 35 to 40 days. And because they love the cooler weather, they just keep getting sweet sweeter as the season goes on. And that's why they're perfect for vertical gardening. They don't need deep soil to form those small roots. And the compact greens don't like sprawl everywhere. So that means that you can just tuck them into your GreenStalk and have a gourmet crop in less than 6 weeks. So timing wise, you want to plant them in late summer or early fall, and you'll be pulling out turnips well into November. A light frost, I mean, that's fine. That's just adding a little bit of flavor. These roots actually taste better after a chill. If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingaafarmgirl.com, and I'm here to help you live a farm fresh life without land or livestock. And if you've been thinking about fall gardening, the Cassandra collection from GreenStalk is the easiest way to get started. The deal runs from September 4th through the 9th. The link is below, and I can't wait to see what you grow. I'm telling you, these are a must try, and they're going to change the way that you feel about turnips. If you have not tried mini pak choi, especially the green jewel variety, get on it. And just to be clear, pak choi is the same as bok choy. And if you've never had it before, it's this crisp, juicy Asian green. It has white stems and dark green leaves, and it shows up in soups, stir fries, and noodle bowls. But because this one is a mini, it matures quickly, it stays compact, and it is perfect for containers and vertical planters. Now, flavor-wise, pak choi is mild, it's almost sweet, and it has crunchy stems and tender leaves. Now, the beauty of the green jewel is that you can harvest the whole mini heads all at once, which is perfect for a single stir fry or for soups. But you can also harvest just the outer leaves as it is growing. Either way, nothing goes to waste. Now, nutritionally, pak choi is loaded with vitamins A, C, and K, plus calcium and folate. It's just like a powerhouse for bone health, immunity, and eye health. And it brings all of that with this really refreshing, juicy crunch that's just different from your other typical fall greens. Now, timing wise, this is one of the quickest brassicas that you can grow, because from seed to full mini head, get this, it is ready in just 35 to 40 days. So that means that you can plant this in September and still be eating fresh pak choi in October and November. And here's actually the best part. It thrives in cooler weather, and it even tolerates light frost, which just makes it tailor-made for fall growing. Now, in the kitchen, pak choi is endlessly useful. You can toss it into a quick stir fry with a little bit of garlic and ginger. You can float it in a miso soup. You can grill it whole for a smoky side, or you can even chop it raw into salads for a really juicy crunch. It's just one of those vegetables that makes simple meals feel more elevated. I'm telling you, this is the one that makes you feel like a pro gardener and a gourmet cook all at the same time. Okay, so let's talk about a green that absolutely almost no one talks about in home gardening, but it should absolutely be on your list. Watercress. I know. A lot of people think that watercress is only something that you see in gourmet salads or tea sandwiches. But here's the thing. Watercress is the most nutrient-dense green on the planet. I know. So out of all of the powerhouse fruits and vegetables, watercress is the only one that has a perfect score for nutrient density. And so what that means for you is that gram for gram, you're getting more vitamins and minerals than anything else you could be growing. And that's another way that I want to leverage my garden. But at the grocery store, A, they don't always carry it. B, it's expensive. Then when you buy it, it's like, okay, now I've got to eat all this watercress within a short, a period of days. But then once you have it in your own backyard, you could just harvest it whenever you want. Yeah. Now, nutritionally, watercress is very rich in vitamin K, vitamin C, calcium, and antioxidants. It supports bone health, your immune system, and even healthy skin. The taste is peppery and crisp, kind of like Arugula's sophisticated cousin, but it's milder and fresher. You want to think of this as the perfect topper. You're going to pile this onto sandwiches, stir it into soups right at the very end, blend it into smoothies, or use it as a garnish that just makes your food look like it came from a restaurant. Now, one of my favorite ways is just tossing it onto scrambled eggs or even into them as I'm cooking them. It gives them this amazing punch without overpowering the dish. Now, here's the cool part. Watercress absolutely loves the cooler temperatures of fall. Now, while the summer heat makes it bolt and turn bitter, fall weather brings out its best flavor. And in a vertical planter, it does this beautifully because the pockets are shallow. and it provides just enough moisture to keep it happy. It is one of those crops that when you look at it, it does look very delicate, but surprisingly, it's very resilient in the fall. Now, timing wise, you can sow it in late summer and keep harvesting throughout the fall months. You don't need a big harvest all at once either. You just snip the leaves as you need them, and the plant keeps producing. Yes, that means there's no waste, just fresh greens whenever you want them. So if you want to grow something that is fast, incredibly nutrient packed, unique, and versatile in the kitchen, watercress is one of those hidden gems that deserves way more love in a fall garden. Now, this is a green I think is one of the best kept secrets in fall gardening. It's French, and here in the US, I've heard it pronounced Mache, but it's also known as corn salad or lamb's lettuce. Now this, it hates the heat. And so I feel like maybe that's the reason why a lot of gardeners don't try it. But the flip side to it is that it loves the cold. And so if you're in zone 7B like I am, you can start planting this now and you'll have greens clear through late December, even early January. Omega-3s from a leafy green. It's one of the reasons why this plant has been treasured in Europe for centuries. In fact, it was so common in French markets that Thomas Jefferson actually brought it over to America to grow at Monticello. And it's still growing there. When I went there this spring, like it's still in his garden lineup. So taste-wise, it's mild, it's nutty, and it's buttery. And unlike arugula or mustard greens that bring heat, Mache is smooth and it's mellow, which makes it an excellent base for salads or as a soft bed under roasted vegetables or even fish. So what I love to do is just to take it, chop it up, and then sprinkle it into soups or omelets at the very end because it wilts slightly and gives it this gentle, fresh flavor. And here's another reason why you're going to love growing Mache in a small space garden. So it grows in these tidy little rosettes. It doesn't sprawl, it doesn't climb, it just forms these perfect hand-sized clusters that fit beautifully in a GreenStalk pocket. You can harvest the whole rosette all at once, or just pluck what you need, and the plant just keeps on giving. Mache is low maintenance and restaurant fancy, and I love it. Okay, so if you want a crop that's going to feed you and make your garden look like art, it's silver beet chard. This variety is sometimes called rainbow chard, and for good reason. The stems light up in shades of red and orange and yellow and pink and white. When you grow it in a vertical planter, it is like you've got edible stained glass shining out of your garden. It is hands down one of the prettiest and most productive greens that you can grow. But it's not just for looks, because sweet chard is loaded with vitamins A, C, K, plus magnesium and potassium. It's one of the crops that supports bone health, circulation, and immunity all at once. Now, flavor-wise, chard is versatile. The leaves are tender and mild, somewhere between spinach and beet greens, while the stems are crunchy and slightly earthy, like celery. So that means that you can cook them together for a full dish or separate them. Just throw the stems into a stir fry and then use the leaves in a soup or a frittata. But one of my favorite ways to enjoy them is just sauteed with garlic and olive oil. The stems are going to give you the crunch while the leaves give you that silky feeling. Now let's talk gardening. Chard, you're going to love this. It's cut and come again, right? You harvest the outer leaves and then the plant just keeps producing from the center. So that means one planting gives you months of steady harvest. And because the growth is upright, it's going to be perfect for your GreenStalk vertical planter or a small raised bed because there's no sprawling, there's no wasted space, just compact, tall abundance. Now, timing wise, you can plant chard in late summer and you're going to keep harvesting it well into the fall. It's also frost tolerant. So while a hard freeze will eventually knock it back, you've still got a very long productive season out of it. This is proof that your garden can be practical and stunning at the same time. A fall must-have for me are my Georgia Southern collards. Now, if you've ever had collards before, then you already know. These are hardy, they're rich, and they're the kind of green that can stand up to cooking without losing all their personality. And what makes the Georgia Southern variety so special is that it has been grown and trusted for generations in the South. These plants produce these giant blue-green leaves that are just loaded with nutrients. And here's the kicker. Collards actually get sweeter after a frost. So while most people are putting their gardens to bed, mine is just getting better. Now, from a nutrition standpoint, collards are loaded with vitamins A, C, and K, plus calcium. And here's why I think they actually deserve more love. If you are someone who doesn't do dairy, Collards are one of the best natural plant sources of calcium that you can grow. So that means you're not just filling your plate, you're actually strengthening your bones, your teeth, and your immune system from your backyard vertical planter. Now, timing. You can sow these seeds in late summer for a steady harvest for fall, all through the winter. They are extremely frost tolerant, which means you can be out there in, well, at least I will be in November and December. I'm here in Maryland picking fresh collards, even when your other greens are long gone. So I am in zone, well, now it's 7, it used to be 7A, now it's 7B. So I'll be harvesting these well past the holidays. And here's why I think that collards are just a small space gardener's dream. These plants keep producing. So you can harvest the outer leaves and then the plants just keep giving from the center. So that means 1 or 2 pockets in your GreenStalk planter can give you meal after meal for months. You don't need rows like you see in traditional gardens. Just a couple of plants and you're set. Now, one of my absolute staples in a fall garden is the lacinato kale, but it sometimes goes by the name of Tuscan kale, dinosaur kale, or even black kale. But whatever you call it, it is absolutely one of the best crops to grow during cooler weather. All right, let's talk about a fall classic that I resisted for years. Beets. If you've ever bought beets at the store, you know they can be hit or miss, sometimes woody and sometimes bland. But when you grow your own, especially in the fall, they are completely different. And this is because the cooler weather brings out their natural sugars. And what you end up with is something that, yes, is sweet and earthy and it's tender. And it's nothing like the tough ones that are sitting in the produce aisle. Now, nutritionally, beets are a powerhouse, y'all. They are high in folate, manganese, potassium, and nitrates that actually support healthy blood flow and endurance. In fact, athletes drink beet juice for a natural performance boost. And don't forget that those greens, like the green tops, they're edible too, and they are loaded with vitamin K and calcium. So again, you're getting 2 crops in one. Now, flavor-wise, Detroit dark red is the variety that you want. These roots are smooth, they're deep crimson and uniform. You're gonna wanna roast these with a drizzle of olive oil. They caramelize into these sweet, earthy bites that taste almost like candy. I'm not kidding. You can also shred them raw into salads, pickle them for that tangy crunch, or even blend them into smoothies for a natural sweetener and a color boost. And the greens, just go ahead, saute them with a little bit of garlic. They're kind of like a cross between spinach and chard. They are delicious and tender. Now, from a gardening perspective, beets are incredibly efficient for small spaces. You don't need giant rows, so in a vertical planter like your GreenStalk, you can grow a surprising number of beets with just a few pockets. The roots grow down and the greens grow up, and you harvest them both. I'm telling you, it is a win-win. Now, timing-wise, Detroit dark red matures in about 55 to 60 days. So if you plant in late August or early September, you'll be eating root crops by late October into November. And like carrots and turnips, they actually improve in flavor after a frost. Now, that's nature's refrigerator at its finest. Let's pause for a minute to talk about a crop that feels gourmet, but is absolutely easy to grow at home. Any guesses? It's broccolini, also known as asperbrock. Now, broccolini is exactly what it sounds like. It's this cross between broccoli and Chinese kale. And that's what gives you those long, tender stems that are topped with those little florets, kind of like mini broccoli, but with a milder, slightly sweeter flavor. It's often sold in like fancy bundles at the grocery store, but the truth is that you can grow it yourself this fall and have a steady harvest of those slender, delicious stems right from your very own garden. Now, nutritionally, broccolini is rich in vitamin C, vitamin A, calcium, and fiber. It's also got these things called glucosinates or something that I was reading in a health book. But anyways, it's the same compound like in broccoli that's been studied for their cancer fighting properties. So while it tastes mild and sweet, it's actually packing some serious health benefits. Now, let's talk flavor and how you're going to use it. So broccolini is tender from top to the very bottom. You can eat the stems, the florets, and even the leaves. Oh, they're so good. It roasts beautifully with a drizzle of olive oil. It sautés quickly with garlic and a squeeze of lemon. And it's amazing to toss into your stir fries. So if you've ever struggled with kids or your spouse who doesn't love like the thicker stalks of regular broccoli, broccolini is your answer. The texture is just It's more delicate and the flavor is noticeably sweeter. I would say timing wise that the asperbrock is designed for a quick harvest, which is why I love it. You can start picking those first side shoots in as little as like 50 to 60 days, which is excellent for broccoli. And the plant just keeps producing new florets. So that means instead of one big harvest like a traditional head of broccoli, you get this like these continual smaller harvests that stretch across your whole fall season. Trust me, once you start growing this, you're going to ask yourself, why didn't I start growing this sooner? And now let's talk about something a little bit more refined. King Richard leeks. I know they're one of those vegetables that look too fancy for us average gardeners, but surprisingly, they are very easy to grow and they love the fall. The King Richard variety is an absolute standout. These leeks grow tall and slim with long, tender white stalks that are buttery and mild in flavor. If you've ever been turned off by the bite of onions, then leeks, leeks are your answer. They're subtle, they're slightly sweet, and they melt into dishes without overpowering them. Now, nutritionally, leeks are rich in vitamin A, vitamin K, and antioxidants. They support heart health and digestion, and they give you that same allium family benefits like, with onions and garlic, but in a gentler package. Now, in the kitchen, they are so versatile. You can slice them thin and saute them in butter for soups and quiches. You can roast them alongside of other root vegetables or fold them into mashed potatoes. Yum! For a French classic that's called something I definitely cannot pronounce. And if you've ever tried potato leek soup on a chilly fall night, you need to. It's comfort in a bowl. Now, from a gardening perspective, the King Richard leeks are compact and they're upright. That means that they're going to sit beautifully into vertical planters. You're not going to have all these sprawling leaves. I mean, they're going to take up space, but not in an obnoxious way. And the best part, you can start harvesting them when they're pencil thin for your baby leeks, or if you want them to get nice and plump, absolutely, they'll do that for you. One planting gives you flexibility in however you want to harvest. So timing wise, leeks are going to take a little bit longer, about 75 to 80 days to mature, but they are frost hardy, okay? And they're going to sit happily in your planter well into the winter. They don't rush you. They're like the steady backbone of your fall garden. I'm telling you, these are going to make you feel like a gourmet gardener without needing acres of space. If you want a brassica that shines in early fall, early Jade broccoli is your girl. Now, broccoli might seem like a spring or a summer crop, but let me tell you, fall broccoli is sweeter, it's more tender, and it is far less stressed by pests. And this variety, Early Jade, is bred to mature quickly and then keep producing after that first harvest, which makes it a fantastic choice for gardeners with limited space. Now, flavor-wise, broccoli is a comfort food. It's mild, nutty, and hearty enough to anchor a meal, but it's still versatile enough to tuck into casseroles or soups or stir fries, or even just enjoy roasted with a little bit of olive oil and salt. Now, fall-grown broccoli develops tighter, denser heads and a sweeter flavor, which makes it better than store-bought. I'm telling you, it's so true. The first time I grew broccoli in my planters about 2 years ago, I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, it's so sweet. Nutritionally, broccoli is a superstar. It is high in vitamin C, vitamin K, folate, fiber, and antioxidants. It's one of the best vegetables that you can eat for immune support, for bone strength, and for gut health. Now, let's talk about growth. So early Jade, like I mentioned, it's fast. It matures and get this, 60 to 65 days, which means that you can plant this in late summer and still be harvesting in October or November. And here's the kicker. After you cut the main head, the plant keeps sending up these side shoots. So that means that one plant can keep feeding you tender florets for weeks. Now, in a vertical planter, that kind of repeat harvest is it's pure gold. Now, from a gardening standpoint, early Jade, you're going to find it to be compact and upright. It's not going to sprawl like some of the other varieties, so it's going to tuck very neatly into your GreenStalk pocket. And because the growth is steady rather than explosive, you don't end up with a giant head all at once, which is what I prefer. Instead, you get manageable meal-size harvests that fit right into everyday cooking. If you're someone like me that loves planting something that pays you back over and over and over again, this one is it. These French baby leeks bring that onion buttery flavor that makes your soups and stews so delicious in the fall. But here's the magic of these prize taker leeks. They are harvested young as tender baby leeks. And that means instead of waiting months for thick, heavy stalks, instead you get these slim, delicate leeks that are ready much sooner. Now, flavor-wise, baby leeks are milder and sweeter than fully grown leeks. They practically melt when sauteed, and they add this subtle richness to dishes without overpowering them. You're going to want to toss these into, quiche, fold them in mashed potatoes, yum, or just make your simple potato and leek soup, and you'll see why French chefs have just loved these for centuries. Now, nutritionally, they are rich in vitamin A, K, and antioxidants. They're part of the allium family, so you continue to get all of those health benefits. And because you've harvested them young, you get tender texture without sacrificing any of that nutritional value. Now, from a gardener's perspective, these baby leeks are a win for small spaces. They grow slim and upright, which makes them perfect for vertical planters. And it takes about 60 to 70 days, which again is excellent in conjunction with all the other crops that we're growing. Now, here's the bonus. These leeks store really well. You can harvest what you need and then leave the rest in your planter and then just pull them as you go. It's like having a fresh pantry that holds your produce until you're ready to use it. These are the perfect mix of practical and gourmet. Okay, so let's do a quick pause while we're talking about seeds, because I think fall is actually the best time to get started with the GreenStalk. It's modular, it requires zero tools, and is made right here in the US by a Tennessee family-owned company. And with the Cassandra collection, you're going to get 40% off, but only through September 4th through the 9th. They'll even throw in free shipping if your order is $150 or more. It's one of those do it now or regret it later moments, especially since the seed bundles are limited to just 100. Now, when you think about cabbage, you're probably picturing those giant heavy heads at the grocery store. But Caraflex is different. This is cone-shaped cabbage. And guess what? This is sweeter, more compact, and one of the most tender cabbages you will ever eat. Nutritionally, Caraflex cabbage is loaded with vitamin C, vitamin K, and fiber. And like all the other brassicas, it's got those sulfur compounds that support detoxification and overall health. It's one of those foods that's great for digestion and immunity, which is exactly what you want headed into the colder months. Now, flavor-wise, this is where Caraflex really shines. So regular cabbage can sometimes be tough or bitter, but Caraflex is delicate and it's mild. The leaves are thinner and they're more tender, which makes them fantastic for things like coleslaw or quick sautés, and even using them as a wrap in place of tortillas. And roasted Caraflex wedges with olive oil and salt, absolute game changer. It caramelizes beautifully. It tastes sweet and almost buttery. And here's another reason why this variety just makes so much sense for small space gardeners. It's compact, as you can see. So unlike the giant cabbages that need tons of room to sprawl out, these little cute cone heads tuck neatly into your GreenStalk pockets. So that means that you can grow a gourmet variety of cabbage, even if you're gardening on a deck in the middle of a townhouse neighborhood like me. Now, timing-wise, you're going to want to sow this late into the summer, and in about 70 to 75-ish days, you're going to have a harvestable head. So that means if you plant in late August or early September, you'll be cutting fresh cabbage for heads of coleslaw or soups or roast by late fall. Now, a classic cold weather crop that you're going to want to grow are Brussels sprouts, but specifically the Long Island variety. Now, if you've only ever had Brussels sprouts boiled into mush, I get you. You might not be their biggest fan, but when you grow them yourself, especially this variety, you're never going to think about Brussels the same way again. Long Island improved sprouts are tender. They are sweet, yes, and they are packed with flavor, especially after they've been kissed by a frost. In fact, just like kale and carrots, Brussels sprouts actually sweeten in the colder months. This chill converts their starches into natural sugars and other stuff is happening. So the ones that you harvest in November and December taste worlds apart from the ones that have been shipped in from California. Now, nutritionally, they're loaded with vitamin C, vitamin K, and fiber. Plus, they've got all these compounds that support detoxification and inflammation control. They're like little nutrient bites tucked into perfect mini cabbages. So flavor-wise, roasted Brussels are the star of any fall or holiday table. You're just going to drizzle them with a little balsamic or olive oil, sprinkle with salt, 20 minutes in the oven. That's all it takes for these Brussels to caramelize into something that's irresistible. I especially like tossing them with balsamic glaze, some bacon, some Parmesan. Oh yeah, you've got a side dish that is going to disappear fast. And here is a fun tip. The leaves that grow around the stalks, you can actually harvest those too and saute them just like collards. I'm telling you, nothing goes to waste. So let's talk about gardening. So this is actually an heirloom variety that's been around since 1890, and it's been prized for its compact, sturdy plants and reliable yields. And yes, they do take some time, 90 to 100 days before you're harvesting sprouts. But again, this is my last harvest that I'm going to be planting now in late summer. And you can see I'm still going to be benefiting from work and having something to eat nearly every week. And so unfortunately, the 100 days is just going to like go by. But here's the magic. Once you plant them, they are set and forget. And they're going to thrive in colder weather. They shrug off the frost and they're going to keep producing during the coldest parts of the season. So that's why Brussels sprouts are traditionally thought of as sometimes this like big garden crop. But I'm telling you, they do very well in your GreenStalk vertical planters. The stalks are going to grow straight up. Each little pocket can hold a single plant that turns into, it's like a Brussels tree. It's a fantastic way to maximize space while still getting a premium harvest. One of the hardest working, most versatile crops that you can grow are bunching scallions. You know you cook with these, so plant them now because they are compact, they are fast growing, they are frost tolerant and delicious. Now, I love these because this is what you call a kitchen rescue crop, because no matter what you're cooking, you can walk outside, snip a few scallions, and instantly elevate the flavor of your dish. And unlike the big storage onions that take months to grow and to mature, scallions are going to give you usable harvest in just 30 days for baby onions, and then 60 to 70 days for thicker stalks. Now, flavor-wise, scallions are milder than your bulb onions, but they still have that fresh, crisp bite that works everywhere, from sprinkling over soups and stir fries to tucking them into tacos or omelets or salads, or even like homemade ramen bowls. You can use the white bottoms for cooking, and then the green tops for a raw garnish. So you get double duty from every single stalk. Now, nutritionally, scallions are rich in vitamin K, C, and antioxidants. They're part of the allium family, which means that they carry the same heart healthy and immune boosting benefits as onions and garlic. They might look delicate, but they pack a lot of power into those stalks. And here's why they're so like practical for your vertical planters. They grow up straight, right? So they're compact and they're tidy. They're not going to give you any fuss. So you can just tuck them in between even your slower growing crops. At least that's what I'm going to do, because I like to pack out my pockets, right with like your kale or your cabbage. And they're not going to compete for space. They're also cut and come again. Y'all know I love that. So you can harvest what you need, and get this, the rest is going to keep growing. It is like having a year-round scallion supply right at your fingertips. Now, timing wise, you can succession sow them every few weeks in the fall. And then you're going to keep pulling fresh scallions up until your first real deep freeze sets in. And because they're frost tolerant, they're often keep like bouncing back well into November and I'd say in December. So I want to talk about something that most small space gardeners overlook, and that's cover crops. Now, a lot of people think that the season is over once your harvest is done, but your vertical planter isn't just a tower of dirt. It's adjacent to a parcel of land. And just like farmers rotate their crops and cover the soil to protect the fertility, you can absolutely do the same thing in your GreenStalk. In fact, I think it's a must. And y'all see the way I plant. I tuck anything in a pocket, so it's probably easy to overlook. But what I do is, at least on each of the tiers, I'm going to dedicate one of those pockets to a cover crop, sometimes two. And doing this is what helps to keep my soil alive. It prevents erosion and it recharges the nutrients naturally. And because of this, I don't have to buy bags and bags of fertilizer in the spring. And I've shared exactly what I'll do. I'll try to remember to post that video. So yes, I will still add in the spring things like vermiculite, perlite, but it's sparingly. And I have 5-6 planters at the moment. And so with those planters, here are the cover crops. This is like everything. And really, this is going to last me not just for this season, but also next year and potentially even the year after. So let me show you what I'm planting for my cover crops. So the first is Lady Phacelia, which is one of the most beautiful cover crops that you can grow. It produces these delicate purple-blue flowers that not only look stunning in a vertical planter, but they also attract pollinators like crazy in early spring. It produces these delicate purple-blue flowers that not only look stunning in a vertical planter, but they also attract pollinators like crazy in early spring. Phacelia grows fast, creates a thick mat of foliage that suppresses weeds, and then when you're ready, you just cut it down and let the roots and leaves break down into the soil. That becomes organic matter, building structure and fertility for whatever you plant next. So it's not just pretty, it's working for you under the surface too. Okay, so next up is crimson clover, which you can see also doubles as eye candy. The flowers are a rich, deep red color that look like velvet torches sticking out from your planter. And here's the best part. Clover is a nitrogen fixer. This means it pulls nitrogen from the air and stores it in your soil, giving your spring crops a natural boost right where they need it. And yes, it's edible. Young clover leaves can be tossed into salads, and the blossoms are sometimes used in teas. But honestly, I plant it for the soil benefits and the beauty. When you cut it back, you've basically given your planters a free bag of fertilizer. And finally, I love planting mixed peas and oats. So these two basically work as a team. The peas are going to fix the nitrogen while the oats grow tall and sturdy, creating a natural mulch when you cut them down. So together they improve soil structure, they add organic matter, and even help with water retention. One of the best parts about peas is that you can actually eat the tender pea shoots. So while the roots are fixing the nitrogen and building the soil, you get to harvest these sweet, crunchy greens for stir fries or salads. I mean, nothing goes to waste. And then just as a side note, the years where I haven't had a chance to plant cover crops, I've always at least taken mulch and covered my soil pockets because you never want to leave the soil exposed or bare. And cover crops just make your work so much easier because it's restoring your soil so that you're ready to plant comes. So if you've never thought about cover crops in your GreenStalk planter, you should try them. They're both beneficial and beautiful. Because in the spring, you are not going to want to start with tired soil. You're going to want living ground that's ready to grow. Don't forget, you can hit the easy button and order the Cassandra collection from GreenStalk. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.